What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Spencer, taking a look at the new Cyberse support. So, went over the cards when they came out, showed off a couple of combos as I was just trying to understand how to play this deck. Essentially, anything is possible. You just have to think of a way to get there. This is one of the most fun. This is some of the most fun I've had playing Yu-Gi-Oh! In a really long time. So I'm going to show off a few replays here. The only matchup that really matters right now, right, is Tearlament. I think I have 4. It doesn't have a great matchup just because the Bystials are so good. And my opponent opened up a Bystial plus Herald. So not looking too good for me. Let's see where he uses his interruption. Oh, he already used the Bystial on the Mathmech Sigma. Yeah, Cynet codec is so wild. You just get extender after extender after extender. What does he get here? Interesting. So, yes, he did have 2 forms of interruption, but had no way to get into Kalos, thankfully. And this isn't good, but through 2 really good forms of interaction during my turn to at least have 4 fresh cards in my hand, I think that's pretty good. And then I actually ended up drawing into Ash Blossom. So I'm going to crawl myself, back into this duel. Another cool thing, Baguska does nothing to a link deck, obviously. So I can go ahead and get over this. And then, I figured I could start playing through, but I'd rather just get over Baguska first and then put up a board that, my opponent would just never, ever be able to play through at this point. Because I was thinking, what are these 2 back rows? They pretty much has to be the Tearlaments. If it was Imperm, we would have used it, a long time ago. Yeah, and he let me stick around for 1 turn, and... Yeah, that's pretty much all the deck ever needs. If it doesn't already go off crazy on the first turn, obviously. But, yeah, this card, Heat Soul, is absolutely bananas. So it's a draw 1, and then another draw during your opponent's turn. And then if it sticks on the field that long, during your turn, it's just Pot of Greed. That's crazy. The new Ritual is the best card of all of the support, by far. Because the fusion that it brings out is an Omni Negate that is an extender. Those 2 cards, man. Whew. And I get, Firewall is actually really nuts. This is the most generic Link monster, in the game. And you have, all these tokens. For a while, I was oh, maybe I'm not going to play the original Firewall because, the new Link 6 is so good. But no, you got to play Firewall just because it's so easy to get rid of, those awkward monsters. So I had Firewall, the new Firewall, out. Super Factorial. Crossout Designator, which I guess is good for Imperm or whatever, if my opponent had it. But I saw a lot of what I've heard. I haven't actually seen anyone else's gameplay. I've just been making this up as I go along, pretty much. But I've seen a lot of people try to make U-Links, but I don't know. U-Links don't really matter anymore. So, I mean, I guess it's good against Dragon Link or something like that. But I'd rather just have really good monsters and something Super Factorial, loaded up versus focusing on making a U-Link. I guess that's just the way that I'm playing it though. But I'll show off my other Tearlament duels. And just so much gas in my hand. And if this duel proves anything, because I do play this really, really badly, I think. These cards should be Bystials. This is just not good enough. That's how good the Bystial cards are, in this format. You can't afford to play Fenrir. And there was, actually a couple of other choices that I thought were kind of awkward. Now, you could see, I forgot to go over my opening hand, but I remember I had, a bunch of stuff. Being able to search Circular off of Codec is just such a cool interaction. My opponent did have Havness, but luckily for me, he blanked. And that was the other thing. I was going to say, Fenrir, and then all these sprite cards should just be Bystials. And I think that's all you have to do to win these duels. So I do not agree with those in the deck. I think it's a worse version of it. I guess I could be wrong. I don't know. I haven't looked at all the deck lists recently, but I don't think they included it. A little weird. I definitely played this so badly. I should have gone into... I was going to pause it there, but I forgot to. Protect Code Talker and then go into Firewall Dragon, because then I would have also had an Omni Negate along with Super Factorial. But even after I goof up really bad, playing that badly is just Firewall Dragon plus another bounce plus like, you know, the Mathmech card. Like, you can't complain too much like off of that. But yeah, I should have also had conflict, but what you'll see here is actually ends up working out really well. It's actually kind of nuts what ends up happening. He is definitely, he makes really bad misplays. He like starts sending my extra deck back into the graveyard. I'm pretty sure that was this duel, and it was just really, really weird. So he's gonna flip that back into the extra deck, which really, like, pretty cool. You know, like, that's actually not a bad thing at all. Better to be in the extra deck than the graveyard, obviously, because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be able to make it again. So this is my current situation. He's got Avermax, Kaleido, which actually isn't going to do anything, thankfully. I do have Cynet Conflict, but no monsters on the field. One ritual in hand. We'll see how I end up playing this. I top deck a circular. Whew, I mean, you get that. It's pretty much over. And I did already have Sigma in the graveyard, so I just got to freely special summon that. And now, like, I'm going to be able to put up some insane stuff here. So he does try to shuffle back the circular, and that actually would have like ended my turn straight up. So I did have that conflict set that I wasn't able to use because I played it badly, and then it ended up working out. So all's well that ends well. You know, Transco Talker can bring back pretty much anything, but you got to be careful. Like, there are so many intricate details of this. Like, you would think you would always want to bring back a link 3 because it's easier to link climb, but 2s are almost like more valuable than 3s in this deck. Through all of that, no monsters when I started my turn. I hard made a link 6 and a link 5 and brought back, you know, another link that protects my board. Like, that's pretty good, obviously. You know, once you start playing the deck, you can really start doing stuff like that. I just thought that was really cool that I was able to build a board off of essentially nothing. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. And I have this one here. You play so many going second cards. The deck is like really, really consistent. It doesn't really take much. If you see 2 Cyberse in your hand, you're usually pretty good. So, evenly matched, and then again, like, this would just be a Bystial card. If he had 2 of them, he definitely would have won this duel. If he had just replaced that. Cyberse Witch can search me, he ends up scooping there. And the cool thing is actually, the Firewall that I sent to the graveyard has to discard, because normally I wouldn't have anything to special summon, but I can actually just discard Dotscaper to trigger the Cyberse Witch. So I thought that was a cool interaction there. So yes, the deck can technically beat Tearlaments every once in a while. It's not like a 0% chance, it's just not great. Lingeribo's really, really good too, because a lot of the times, like, the new Firewall Link has this ability to just freely special summon a monster from the graveyard. So, like, during the course of your turn, every once in a while, you'll have the opportunity to bring back Lingeribo. So, like, playing something like Labyrinth, that's, like, really, really good. The cool thing about this deck is that there's so many different attributes that if you already have one in your hand, like, Kodak can still search something else that will extend. And if you just draw those one of extenders, then they're just extenders in your hand already anyways. There's really no downside. There are no garnets in this deck, and that's like my favorite part about it. I hate playing you know, decks with garnets in them. It's so annoying. Cool thing about this combo deck is that it has a searchable way to out Dark Ruler no more, which I think counts for something for sure. Yeah, I played this a little while too, because I do have a Super Factorial, and it is online, but I don't have like the zones for it. But I know, like, you have Firewall. I have 2 like bounces with Firewall. I think I have 2. It should be 2, right? Or maybe I don't have anything. Oh, I have 1 bounce here with Singularity because this is on the field, and I have Ash Blossom. And I guess he ended up scooping anyways. Like, again, that was like a misplay by me, and my board is still pretty insane, all in all. And I'm just going to go through the rest of them now. This one's kind of cool. This was against Witchcrafters, but he did have Secret Village of the Spellcasters, and he did have the Left Hand, which I guess isn't really that relevant, trap cards. It could be against Tearlaments, but what I also like about this is he's able to bring out the Floodgates. So there's like 3 Floodgates on the field, and the deck is actually just easily able to play through it. because he's going to bring out the Vere, and that like does a kind of like skill drain effect, but like only for like monsters that are currently on the field, not for the rest of the turn. So I mean, like I'm able to proctor this out. I actually just hard make Lapsian. I don't even need to use the trap card, which is pretty cool. So he has to use this, or else he's like losing everything. And now I just get to play freely, and I have infinite extenders, which is really cool. You know, Splash Mage, so easy to help Link climb. So I get to go into the new, you know, Link 6, which is awesome. Putting this back in his hand because it can't just be normal summon, so it's kind of hard to bring out. I can bring out Exceed, and that can turn into the Protect Code Talker. I'm going to turn all those into Dark Fluid, so that are now protected. Like, yeah, like it's working out pretty well. Like, he can't even actually activate spell cards because now he doesn't control a spellcaster monster. So I thought it was a kind of a fun replay. Oh, this was like some random water deck, and I just opened up really good, but I was looking at this card, Supreme Sea Mare. If this card is normal or special summon, you can send an Aqua monster from your deck to your graveyard. Is that like not really good in Tearlaments? I feel like if they ever did anything in Rhino Heart, would this not like be the replacement? I don't know, because I'm pretty sure they're Aquas. I'm like 99, but they definitely are. And it says you can, during your end phase, you can contribute this card, then target one Aqua monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. I don't know, I feel like I'm missing something. This seems like a crazy Tearlament card. During the end phase, you get to add back Havness. I'm pretty sure that one's an Aqua, I'm not sure though. But any Tearlament, if you get to add to your hand, is really good. Just a thought. But, okay, I get to go into Singularity here. The Ritual comes out too. I think I put this in a weird zone. I get to, you know, Rockhammer is just 3 tokens. He ends up scooping, but man, like, what a hand. I pretty much had anything that I wanted to do from here on out, because this is going to bring back a body that means I can go into, like, Heat Soul or something. And then this brings out 3 tokens, and I just get to keep Link climbing more. Let's see. I think I just have, like, a few other ones. This is against Fluffles. Whenever you see one of the Cynet spells in your opening, like it's such a good feeling, because you know you're probably going to be able to search out other ones, and which is what I get to do here. Like, you know, I get Conflict, excuse me. I was thinking of the Codec card, but this is Cynet Conflict. The amount of extenders, like I think I talked about this earlier, but you have like 1 extra attribute extender for everything, just in case you draw the other ones that you have. Because that was what I was running into, is like, it's so good to search with Codec, but then I would only be able to search a card that I'd already used like earlier in the turn. So then I just started adding a bunch of 1-ofs that are just really good cards. Super Factorial. Conflict is online too. Like I barely even got started. I didn't even Ritual Summon yet. And this is already what I have on my board. Plus 2 interruptions in my hand. Yeah, it's like not too good, looking too good for my opponent. This is against a Pendulum deck. I want to say I make a weird mistake in this duel, and I wanted to talk about it. I'll see if I catch it. Alan Bershin can go ahead and search. It's really cool because normally you'd have to search an extra name so that Super Factorial would be online, but I actually already had Subtraction in my hand. So this is like an extra kind of extended combo that just doesn't happen very often. Also, I had Parallel in my hand, which is going to put up a pretty crazy board. And I think I probably even play it badly. We'll see what I end with. So Power Code Talker. I can now search Conflict. Sage comes out. So definitely want to go into the new 6. So I have 3 bounces with Singularity. Super Factorial is online. And yeah, like I definitely should have ended with the Power Code. There's probably a gajillion thousand different ways, because it is in my graveyard. I just don't have any Link 3s, which is so wild. So I think I just like played it too quickly. I should have gone into a lot of like the smaller links and gone from there. But you'll see, like this is normally like enough interruption against most decks, you know, because Super Factorial is just a crazy card. And so is this card for sure. Also, I have another like negate, you know, in my graveyard. So it's more interaction than you might think. He's going to go ahead and pendulum summon, and I'm just going to like bounce it back to his hand. So he can't like link summon or anything because he already uses normal summon, obviously. And then Super Factorial is going to, you know, get rid of one of his scales, one card in his hand. So the advantage is just going to be too wild at this point. And then Conflict would have been online like after that turn. Obviously, I would have been able to go into like a Link 3. And then just been off to the races. But the duel is pretty much over at that point anyways. So cool that this gets a permanent attack gain. I think that's a really neat effect. Super underrated, the card. I think the hype should be way more real for it. This deck is insane. I do play Crossout Designator because like my turn would have been over if I didn't have that. So I feel like you kind of have to. And it's a combo deck anyways. Like that's the nature of combo decks. You have to have, you know, answers. If Called By was at 3... yeah, maybe you don't play Crossout. I'm not sure, though. There's a lot of good versatility in Crossout Designator. One thing that's really cool about this deck is that Dimensional Barrier doesn't hit it, because it doesn't include Link Summoning. So it's kind of cool that that's like never going to be an out that your opponent has. Oh, and I think when I started my churn, I normal summoned with Microcoder, so you would have thought like, oh, you're never going to be able to get that. But Cyberse Witch brings back from the graveyard any Cyberse. Or level 4 or lower Cyberse, but essentially any Cyberse. So even though you would like to use that from your hand, I was able to bring it back and then search another combo extender. I thought that was a cool interaction. I like that a lot. Anyway, I get to search, and I get to freely special summon that from my hand. You know, bring this back. Yeah, probably go into Singularity here. 3 tokens. That can turn into the Splash Mage. That can bring back Circular. Heat Soul, which can search me another body, which is pretty cool. And then also search me a card, obviously. I draw into Imperm. This is going to search me something else. I think I actually misclicked here, which sucks so bad because I would have been able to go into Druid Worm. I wanted to search the what's it called? That or was already in my graveyard for some reason. Maybe it was weird. I don't remember using that card. I think that's what I messed up on, though. Or I didn't have it in my deck at this time. I think maybe that was the problem. But there's one that's just it's a light that special summons from the hand. And I would be able to go into the Drag Fluid, too, which would have been really cool. But he did have Super Poly, but it's just not going to be enough. You know, Firewall Dragons just was another interruption, and that worked out pretty well for me there. And then that was cool. Like Sigma didn't have anything in the graveyard, so you could just bring that out to start your turn. Although I should have used Circular first, but you know, I was like so far ahead it didn't really matter at that point. I had so many opportunities to just do a billion things. Or pretty much just go into my big boss monster and kind of end the duel. Not that he had anything anyways. And then last, this is like an artifact deck. It's not... He does nothing, basically. Artifacts depend completely on your opponent doing something, so I knew I was playing it. The first one I won, like, so... like, easily. It wasn't even worth, like, saving the replay for. But yeah, like, at this point I knew he was playing artifacts. And, you know, I'm not saying you're stupid if you play artifacts. It's just funny, like, the archetype is so flawed. Depending on your opponent doing stuff. And at one point they'll know, right, in a match what you're playing. So they'll never go after the back row at that point. I also just wanted to, I basically just wanted to save this replay so I could show you this combo. This is when I was getting a little more comfortable with the deck. Firewall Dragons there. I could bring out the, you know, the G Golem and do so much. This was actually the Link 5, which is really cool. So this was Dragworm right by itself. And it would have had all the counters on it. After I special summon Hammer, so Hammer would have had a bunch of stuff. Because Dragworm has like the crazy... It just has the left and right arrows, which is so wild. It's down to the left and right, and to the left and right of itself. Like the best Link arrows. Such a good versatile card. But yeah, that was my look at the new Cyberse stuff. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Other than that, that's going to do it for today's video. And I'll see you guys next time.